From ages and ages ago, people have been extracting tobacco from tobacco leaves to intake nicotine, which is a highly addictive drug. When tobacco enters a user's body, nicotine then enters the bloodstream and eventually reaches the brain. This process causes the brain to release a hormone called adrenaline, which is released by adrenal glands, allowing the user to contain a feeling of pleasure. Tobacco smoking comes in many shapes and sizes, including chewing tobacco, cigarettes, cigars, hookah, pipes, and the one thing we are studying today, e-cigarettes. As of now, e-cigarettes are the newest smoking method. So our research question is, what are the risks and benefits of e-cigarettes? What is an e-cigarette and how is it different from typical cigarettes? Well, according to National Institute on Drug Abuse, e-cigarettes, also known as electronic cigarettes, are battery-operated devices designed for their smokers to intake flavored nicotine and other chemicals in vaporized form. The first e-cigarette was created in 2003 by a pharmacist from Beijing, China. It wasn't until later in 2006 that the e-cigarette was introduced to the United States. Although there are both risks and benefits to e-cigarettes, this alternative seems to be less harmful to society than typical cigarettes. However, this newly founded technology poses many unknown risks that are not yet discovered, potentially allowing the user to fall into jeopardy. So there are a few benefits to e-cigarettes. First of all, it decreases risks of secondhand smoking because they do not produce tobacco smoke. Compared to tobacco cigarettes, e-cigarettes contain less toxic chemicals such as formaldehyde, aldehyde, acrolein, and toluene. Formaldehyde poisoning may occur and cause dangerous reactions to the body. Exposure to aldehyde can sometimes cause irritation on many body parts, including skin, eyes, and lungs. Long-term exposure may lead to more serious issues such as cancer. Inhaling acrolein for short periods of time can cause minor infections in the eyes and throat. Long-term exposure, however, in the most severe cases may even cause death. Exposure to toluene can affect body parts such as liver and kidneys, eventually leading to damage. Another possible benefit of e-cigarettes is that it may lead to more users to quit smoking. 2 PhD degrees, Lois Binner and J. Lee Hargreaves from University of Massachusetts, Boston, decided to write an article called A Longitudinal Study of Electronic Cigarette Use Among a Population-Based Sample of Adult Smokers, Association with Smoking Cessation and Motivation to Quit. The experiment was conducted by surveying 1,374 adults in 2 metropolitan areas in U.S. in 2011 and 2012 about their tobacco use. In 2014, 695 out of 1,374 of the respondents agreed to be recontacted and to be assessed on their smoking status and e-cigarette use. After the assessment, they were categorized as intensive users who used e-cigarettes daily for at least a month, intermittent users who used e-cigarettes often but not daily for more than once a month, non-users/triers who used e-cigarettes at most once or twice. As a result of the study, 23% of the adults fell into the category of intensive users, 29% were intermittent users, 48% were triers and non-users. Through running logistical calculation, the study found out that intensive users of e-cigarettes that were 6 times more likely than non-users/triers to report that they quit smoking. So some of the risks of e-cigarettes are that flavoring agents in e-cigarettes seem harmless at first. However, after a careful study, it shows that these flavoring agents include combinations of different chemicals that may lead to respiratory diseases. Particularly, the cinnamon flavor has the most cytotoxic. There is also a possibility of creating bacterial infections that are even immune to antibiotics. Particle sizes in e-cigarettes tend to be smaller. This is troublesome since these small aerosols are the perfect size for entering the lungs' tiniest airways, a problem that normal cigarettes do not have. The labels on refill cartridges don't always accurately reflect the amount of nicotine found in the e-liquid. Nor does the amount of nicotine found in the liquid appear to correlate with the amount of nicotine found in the vapor. So the research on propylene glycol, one of the most commonly used constituents of e-liquids, showed that it can cause eye and lung irritation. potentially toxic carbonyls can form when e-cigarettes are heated to high temperatures. Some newer variable voltage models allow users to increase the temperature of the heating element to deliver more nicotine, which also generates carbonyls. Carbonyls, which consist of carbon atom double bonded to an atom, oxygen atom, are found in a variety of organic and organo-non-metallic compounds. E-liquids generated higher levels of carbonyls than other fluids, with levels of carcinogenic formaldehyde observed in the range seen in the tobacco smoke. E-cigarettes are quite new, so many potential dangers are still unknown to the users. So in conclusion, the e-cigarette remains relatively new to society and not very much of it is known about at the moment. In fact, the use of e-cigarettes are not even regulated. However, we know that it is a myth that e-cigarettes are harmless and that indeed there are many dangers of the e-cigarette. The most common risk that comes to this new technology are respiratory diseases including lung cancer. When being compared to regular cigarettes, however, the e-cigarette does seem to be less harmful not only to the user, but to society as a whole, since secondhand smoke is decreased due to the lack of tobacco smoke. Scientists are still questioning many specific risks and content of the e-cigarette as it is still quite new. The FDA, also known as Food and Drug Administration, is also still searching whether or not there is a correlation between the use of e-cigarettes and the user to quit smoking.